tell me when to say action. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another webinar, AI in 2025, what South African audience actually responded to. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Mwenya Chintambala. I am a PR and creative lead here at Vugaanile, and we really appreciate your time, and we're excited for this conversation. As we draw to a close of 2025, it's important for us to look and see and examine what type of AI trends that the South African audience responded to. And I'm very excited to have a lovely conversation with my guest, Kopano. Kopano, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mwenya. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Before we go anywhere, Kopano, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your field of expertise? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I hope you guys are well. My name is Kopano Moshoana, and I run a marketing technology company called KPR Media Solutions, as well as a virtual assistance company called Sorted Virtual Assistants. So primarily, I am in the online space. I've been running my online businesses for a couple of years, so AI is quite integral in our business models and processes. So I'm quite excited to share just my experience and my knowledge of AI, and I'm quite excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to jump straight into it. Kopano, obviously we're coming to a close. The year-end fatigue is here, but we do need to look critically. We do need to look critically at our industry and what type of AI, particularly within South Africa, that they responded to. So I'll jump us off and say, what insight about SA digital behavior did you notice in the year of 2025?
I noticed a lot of the main industries, mainly banking as well as telecoms. So the likes of your Vodacom, the likes of your F&B Discovery, they really came in the forefront, integrating technology more into their processes, how they work, but most importantly with their AI, mainly utilizing chatbots to basically improve the overall customer experience as well as their customer relationship, elements that they've included within their company. So that's been the biggest thing that I've seen so far in the AI space. And of course, also just the automation of smaller activities within the different touch points or funnel stages when you are working with a client. So that was the biggest thing that I saw in 2025, and I'm quite excited to see what other future, advancements that they'll have in 2026.
I can definitely agree with you. I mean, I know recently, actually, I needed to go to a Vodacom and I wanted to speak to customer care, and they have an AI bot, which they call Toby. So I can definitely relate in terms of what you're saying, in terms of those trends, in terms of streamlining those AI processes. I guess just leading into that a little bit more, why do you think they've streamlined those small, services and those small actions to AI, and how can small businesses perhaps take advantage of this as well?
Absolutely. I think the reason why they did that is that the smaller tasks, AI becomes incredibly helpful. It becomes the amazing helper, right? Considering the entire business model. So a lot of it has to do with cost because, of course, if you can create or integrate an AI system that will cut your costs in half, but still give you the same level of efficiency when you're experiencing a client or moving them on to the different stages of how you guys work in your customer relationship, system, etc., or process. So I think it was more around just cutting costs on the little things that also still matters so much, even though it might be little or a drop in the ocean. It is still very important that it's still tightened and it's to the quality for people to experience it really well. I think what small, medium enterprises can take from this is that use AI to automate the little things. Really look at what are the little things that we don't necessarily have to put a human to do this task, but get an AI, rather a system or tool to do it, so that A, you save more on cost, B, that cost can then be filtered to more important roles that will then, of course, further tighten or improve the entire business model that you have in your business. There for a sec.
Hear you, I can't see you. Oh, there we are. There we're back. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
But I did hear everything you said, and I think one of the key points that you said is that it's not a small task. You know,
Yeah.
it isn't a small task. All these tasks that are happening are quite crucial. And I think, as you mentioned, you know, small to medium businesses can take advantage of that as well. I know you mentioned in your bio that you also have an online business and you're in the space as well. What is a trend that you, as a small to medium organization, have used, and what is something that you would advise other people to take into the new year?
I think I'm going to sound like a parrot here, just repeating, but it's mainly, utilizing it for the smaller tasks. So let's say, for instance, your onboarding process is you send out a form, people need to fill in what exact brief they're looking for, especially considering the fact that both the MarTech and the virtual assistance company sort of have a similar approach when it comes to onboarding. You would send out a form, you would fill it in to what your need is, and then from there, you will then be allocated to an actual real human. But that process can be done through AI, sending the actual form, and then once you fill in that form, what happens is the AI tool that we utilize would then put a nice PDF or document together, send it back to us to say, hey, this is what the person's looking for, this is their budget range, or this is the type of talent they're looking for, etc. And that information becomes extremely important for us, so that when we go and actually set up a meeting, also it goes above and beyond. So once it gets the form, your details, you can also then set time to talk to a representative to then elaborate on your brief, or if there's certain nuances that you want to explain, it then can happen. But that doesn't necessarily need a human being. That can be integrated with AI. So automating the really small stuff that still, of course, matter and set the tone and the experience with your client, your potential client, is extremely important. And then that's when we then hand it off to an actual human, or myself or my team members, and then we'll have a meeting to say, hey, okay, we received everything, we have it here, let's talk it out. Are you happy with this approach? What do you need clarity on, etc.? Then once that is done, it basically just supersedes the process, because now if I was doing it manually, we might take time. You send an email, I send an email back maybe after 2 hours. It just removes the back and forth that would naturally progress if I was doing it manually.
Absolutely. And can you give us an example of an AI tool that helped you deliver this, or an AI tool that you believe performed really well in 2025?
Awesome. So I have two actually. So one was JotForm, and that's the one we use for forms. It's absolutely amazing. And you can integrate it into your different CRM tools and systems. The second one is Asante. Love Asante. We utilize it in the team. It's extremely amazing when it comes to customer relationship management as a whole, in general. But also, most importantly, it helps you take care of the minor marketing tasks that you would potentially assign to somebody else. They would do it. So the scheduling, making sure that you generate reports to understand what's happening, whether you're also sending out invoices. So it does quite a few things as well as a tool. So I think those have been my top two at the moment. And of course, there's the regular ones, your ChatGPTs, your Geminis. They always, help in terms of setting up a good framework, and then of course you adding your meat and your juice into it. So those have been incredibly helpful in our system and way of doing things.
Fantastic. I mean, we can't deny, although AI is taking over and doing a lot, there are still a lot of misconceptions and fears
Yeah.
with small to medium businesses about like what to do, where to go. Is it only ChatGPT? Will it take my job? All of those
Yeah.
things. So I guess, what is one misconception that you think that brands and SA small to medium companies still have about AI?
First of all, that it is going to take your job. I think
Oh,
it's going to take your
okay.
job. Yeah, because I think it will take your job if you don't integrate it, right? I keep saying to people that
Mm,
AI is mainly just a helper. It is not the entire solution. And the entire solution is in the hands of the human capacity and brain capacity that a human has. Because at the end of the day, in order to get a certain prompt back from ChatGPT, you need to put it in there. So without human prompting and human interaction, then AI becomes, null and void. It becomes futile. So without any human interaction, AI can't improve and it can't, help you to get to the place that you're getting to within your business. So I think the hugest misconception is that it is going to, replace all human activity or capacity as a whole. I don't think so. It is merely a helper. And if you know how to prompt well and you know that you see it as a helper, it becomes a secret weapon for you and your business. And it literally cut a lot of costs rather in half for you, especially when you're a small medium enterprise still starting out. Costs are everything. You need to make sure that you are, considering the fact that you have certain costs for the year, expenses, etc. So it really does assist in that regard.
interesting, interesting. I guess I think it's very important, and I like what you said. It is a helper, and you're right. It needs our brain capacity. It needs us to prompt. It needs us to, I guess, talk to it so it can talk back. I guess three things that I would like you to say to our audience, like what type of things do we need to remember for it to be a good helper as we move forward into 2026? We already know that it's taking over
Yeah.
the industries and many industries, not just in marketing, but if a
Yes.
small to medium organization is using ChatGPT, how can they better use it for the new year? How can they better prompt? How can they better utilize AIs, your ChatGPT and the others, to make sure they are more effective in the new year?
Absolutely. So number one, AI is so overwhelming, right? Everyone feels like they need to get all these tools and make sure that they input it in their processes, which naturally, granted, it makes so much sense. But do not overwhelm yourself. Pick 2 to 3 things in your business that are incredibly important, your activities, and then pick a tool that you're going to integrate. So all you have to do is at least start with a small part of your business model and automate certain aspects of it so that you don't overwhelm yourself. So don't try and do all things at once, but pick 2 to 3 things in your business that is incredibly important in your process, and then allocate an actual tool that will help you automate and basically scale more efficiently in your business. So that's step one. Step two, you then train your company. Create a day. Whether you decide, okay, we're going to have this full day of a training where we're going to go into AI for business, what tools we can utilize, and it must be tools that are basically helpful within your industry or your line of work, because every AI is not always good for every single business. You need to know your processes and you need to understand your clients very well. What works, what makes them happy, so that whatever you integrate just sort of fulfills that and even surpasses what you guys were doing prior to that. So it's picking the niches, training your company, making sure that they open. Don't get them to be overwhelmed with AI, but they must welcome it with open arms. And the only way you can do that is when it becomes a company policy that, hey guys, let's not be afraid of AI. Let's not be afraid of technology. It is a helper. And all we need to do is just pick the right tools that would create that process for us. Then, lastly, make sure that you are storing your data. It's very important because with AI, it comes with data. They work hand in hand. And that is a very important aspect to also keep in mind as a small business, making sure that you are documenting or placing your data appropriately, so that you can see what's actually happening. But also, most importantly, you are also compliant when it comes to data. So the Puppy Act, etc., making sure that all the different touch points that are, where you're disseminating information for public knowledge, making sure that you are strictly labeling to say this is puppy compliant. If you're going to send out information, make sure that your customers consent, etc. Especially also if you're going to utilize their data for certain things, whether that's to showcase social proof, testimonials, etc. It's very important that you do pair that up. So I think for me, those are the most important three things to look at when you're starting out, so that you don't feel overwhelmed and you actually start to see real results of AI in your business.
I think that's really fantastic 3 points, and I like the third one about data because I think particularly today now data can be used anywhere. I was reading an
Yeah.
article quite recently where now your Instagram data, like even your direct messages, can be used,
Yeah.
and it's even
Yeah.
that bad where they can even like ping to your very location as to like your house and your street address. So data is quite important. Is there anything within the data space or and the protection of data when using AI? When using all these AI initiatives, is there anything that we need to be cautious of or think about? Because I know that's also something that maybe perhaps small to medium businesses are concerned about. My data, what's going to happen if I put a brief out and it's great and then someone else can just Google it and find it? Is there anything that
Mhm.
we need to know in order to make sure that we also protect ourselves while using and streamlining work with AI?
Absolutely. I think for me, even before just small, medium enterprises, I think AI in general, whether it's a small business or a large corporation, we need regulation. I think we're seeing it
Mm,
every day that AI needs to be regulated. It's becoming a bit scary. I mean, recently I also read about how I think I don't know who has Google or uses Google Workspace or Gmail, but you get a summary of your email before you even read the email. And now that sounds really great, right? It's like, okay, great. I don't have to read the email, especially if it's a long email. Let me just look at the key points and then respond, right? It is amazing for help and just you on your daily, but the larger scheme of things, it's actually extremely dangerous because now they have access to your conversations. And if you're talking about very sensitive information, for instance, if you're in certain industries like law, accounting, medical, they're going to read all the data of your clients, patients, etc. So I just feel like there needs to be some sort of regulation with the apps already or the tools. And then I think you, as an individual or a company, make sure you're compliant, making sure that you are honoring whatever the POPI regulations are, and making sure that you're keeping you and your team accountable so that you don't get into trouble. So I think that's the most important thing. And also consent, making sure that you are transparent, you're honest with your audience to say, hey, this survey that you're going to fill in, it's actually for public knowledge. We're going to do a sort of a study or whatever the case is. So please do indicate if you're comfortable for us to share this data with people for public knowledge. So making sure that you are doing your due diligence on your side as a company to make sure that everyone is comfortable, and that you're making sure that you're honoring their data, because data sovereignty is extremely important. The more that AI is advancing, the more this is really becoming a pressing issue, just with regulation on its own as well.
I could not agree even more because really it is getting scary, and you're absolutely right. It does need to be regulated in the sense of just knowing what we can and what we can't do. And
Yeah.
even though it can seem as an aid, it can actually be
Mm.
quite dangerous at the end of the day. Yeah. I think finally, before we close, what is one prediction in 2026 that you feel will push AI or push the space even more forward, and how can we, everyone, large or small, jump on it, learn about it so that it can also help all our businesses?
I think like the bigger things, I think the stuff that I mentioned before, like relationship management. Sorry about that. Is going to grow a lot further. So if you already are doing the foundational stuff, it's just going to advance. So whether that is now looking at large machine learning models to integrate into your business, especially for the big corporations, because you have large amounts of data. I can only imagine in the banking industry, the telco industry, it's more just seeing the advancement of what already is around, in my opinion. And I think from a small business front, it's just being a little bit more, just exploring more on tools. but also finding the right ones, right? You need to align with the right correct tools. There's no point in getting a bunch of AI tools that are not going to do anything for you fundamentally. So it's really honing into that and making sure that you are picking the right tools, but exploring a bit more, because I think small medium enterprises are still in that space of needing education when it comes to AI. Yes, you know ChatGPT, which is great, but you don't know the depths of what ChatGPT could do for you. You're thinking it can just write an email, do a proposal for you, but it can do so much more. It can code, it can create workflows, it can create AI agents for you, right? So also the rise of AI agents is just going to explode even further for me personally in 2026, because they can do so much. But I would say with all of these developments happening in AI, the biggest thing that I want to give people as well is please find a balance. Know when to use AI, when to integrate human, interaction into it. Because the last thing you want is, especially at a local front, I'm talking now South Africa, we're still quite old fashioned. We want to shake your hand. We want to see your face. We want to see, okay, I'm doing a deal with Kopano and this is who she is, etc. So try find a good middle ground from a local perspective. Internationally, I do see things are a bit different. Cultures are different. Relations with people are different. So they are quite more open to really going and setting the bar really high when it comes to AI and the technology side of things. But I think for us in the African continent, it is still going to be a driver to still, help with a lot of societal issues that we have. But I think we need to find a beautiful sweet spot on when to use humans and when to use AI.
You've said some great gems in that, and I think it's quite key. Let's just talk a little bit about, like, in the South African context, as you mentioned. We're very old school. We want to shake your hand, we want to meet you. We are always like, oh, there's all of these AIs and everything. And so I feel sometimes what happens is we look what's happening in the West, and we try and
Yeah,
replicate it and copy it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then it becomes a bit of a disaster, because, as you've mentioned earlier, you take all these tools and none of them are helping your business. None of them are actually really pushing you forward or even helping
yeah,
you. And I think the first thing that I want you to just dive on a little bit more was, how do we as South Africans make sure that we have that balance that you just mentioned, of making sure that we have enough humans and we have enough AI. I know you spoke about the importance of making sure that that customer relationship helps us in the space of AI, and I could not agree more. Because everything is being automated, I think sometimes seeing a Kopano and seeing her and talking to her does also help. So how do we bring
yeah.
that balance when we see bigger organizations, like you mentioned earlier, banks taking that small trade, key trait, into AI, but us as small and medium businesses in South Africa, knowing our culture, knowing where we come from and what people like in the space, how do we create that balance and keep it?
Awesome. So I think it starts with market research. Extremely important, because at the end of the day, no matter what service or industry you're in, they're not going to look one in the same, right? So market research is incredibly important. You need to understand what makes the client happy within the service that I'm offering, number one. Number two, how do they want to do business? Do they prefer that you sit online with them on their onboarding session instead of sending a form? Or they don't mind sending a form, but at some point, in order to start the contract, for them to sign that SLA and onboard successfully, they want to see a face, for instance. Or in terms of the work processes, maybe there's a certain strategy that you're going to do. Are they open for you to utilize AI and technology within the output or whatever you produce for them, right? Especially if it's service based. So these are some of the things you need to start asking yourself, especially from a South African standpoint. What do my customers actually want? What makes them happy? So, for instance, I'll go back to your example earlier about Vodacom and how you were in a frustrated or pressed state of mind. The last thing you want is you don't want to chat to a chatbot when you're already frustrated. So these are some of the things that they need to note on their side as well, to say, okay, but if someone is frustrated, if we're going to give them AI to speak to say, what is your issue? That might just frustrate them even further. They'd want to rather just call someone and say, Kopano, listen, this is my issue. I don't know what to do. Please help me navigate it, instead of saying option one, option two. So knowing when to also place the AI and sort of like it should become predictive to say, okay, with this situation, we know for a fact that here it's a no-go with our clients. They don't like it if we integrate AI when they're in a certain state of mind, etc. So it really goes down to market research. How clients want to work with you and what makes them happy and what makes it convenient. Where do they feel most comfortable? And if it means that AI is integrated into it, great. If not, then don't do it. And that's where the balance
That's
comes.
Oh, lovely. And so what have you seen in both your businesses, particularly in the virtual assistant organization? Like, what have you seen, and how do you, on a daily, continue to create that balance?
Awesome. So as I've mentioned, so with the VA space, we do of course utilize the form, right? So that's pretty much, I'd say, the really big basis of where we use tech and AI. The rest of it is a lot more personal and human interaction based because of the intimate service that we provide. A lot of the people that we work with, this is now, they're going to become their personal assistants. They're going to become those people that have, access to their private information, etc. So they'd rather, navigate it with a person where they can call me on WhatsApp or call me directly to say, Kopano, I'm happy with SIPO, but 1, 2, 3 is going wrong. What do we need to do? Okay, great. Let me speak to SIPO. Let's hop on a meeting with SIPO and see what we need to do in order for him to better understand how you guys work, etc. So that's what I've seen from a sorted perspective because of the type of service it is, and that's why I say it goes back to market research. They prefer it to be more human interactive based because it is such an intimate service. Whereas with the marketing agency, a lot of the stuff that we utilize is actually automated because it's service based. And maybe I'd say the only time where human interaction would then come is maybe that first onboarding meeting just to get clarity, and then the monthly check-ins when we have a report to present, etc. We can't have AI reporting reporting on what has happened this past month, etc. So this is where we know these are the best times to place us, and then those other times we can utilize AI to communicate with them or showcase certain things, etc.
I think that's really interesting because you're right. When it comes to an assistant, besides when it comes to an assistant, they really you do need that kind of connection, that human connection that
Yeah.
allows you to trust them because you are kind of sharing your life with them. So they do need
Mm.
to be able to they need to be a human so that you can
Yes.
just trust them a little bit more,
Yes.
so that they won't just run away. And I think that's great. It creates a great rapport on your end and stuff. And so I also would like us to talk a little bit about some of maybe the skepticisms or some of the, I know we've spoken about misconceptions, but where do you feel like, okay, essay, you're dragging your feet a little bit here, pick up the pace, we can do better, we can showcase, so where do you feel like, and what spaces and industry spaces do you feel like, okay, fine, they may be afraid because of 1, 2, 3 when it comes to AI?
100%. I think it's just overall the AI adaptation can be a little bit faster. Um, and I think it comes naturally from the skepticism because a lot of scams also happen online. A lot of South Africans are very skeptical of the online space, integrating. Some people, even like as much as e commerce is booming, at first, a lot of people didn't want to do online shopping. They felt like, I'm not going to get my stuff. I'm not going to, if I pay here, I might not get my money back, etc. I mean, I have some family members still that are afraid to order on Shein, so it's these little things that also sort of hinder the AI adaptation process because already if they're afraid of technology, how are they going to feel about AI as a whole as well? So I think it's just that for me, I feel like could be a bit better. But I think what will help us supersede that is education. There needs to be a lot more education on AI, whether that is programs, internships that are integrated in school, integrated in our universities or TVET colleges, whatever the case is. Just getting the society getting used to how AI can be integrated in their lives and how it can also be utilized positively to impact their lives well and their business as well. So I think a lot more information needs to be taught to the different people within South Africa and even in our continent. And I think also, if we're going to take it from a continental level, there's still a lot of issues even with just technology. I mean, fine, we're talking about AI. Technology as a whole already is still an issue. Things like lack of electricity, things like expensive data prices. Not everyone has exposure to Wi-Fi. So there's a lot of things that from an infrastructural level that still needs to be resolved in Africa that will get us to that place that we'd like to see with AI adaptation and it growing at a better pace in the future.
I couldn't agree more. I think as a continent, Africa is really amazing and booming, but we do need to understand and really be cognizant of the everyday problems and issues that we may have as a continent. And even though AI is rising, and it's good for all businesses, whether here in South Africa or Nairobi or Rwanda or Congo, it's important that people are aware of
Yeah,
just making sure that you need to have a good grassroots level before we move on and be like, okay, these types of AI tools to help us. And you spoke very well about the education part of it, and also just looking at the time that we're in. Obviously, the metrics have just finished writing, and obviously, people are now deciding on what's my career, what's next, what am I
yeah,
going to do at university, and there's no secret that people and the industry have told us that AI is going to take over. You need to start looking at AI jobs. You need to start looking at AI careers.
yeah,
And I think also to your point of, it is going to take your job if you don't incorporate it, if you don't have the mindset to incorporate it. Where do
yeah.
you think, I guess, if we're speaking to the youth on this webinar, where do you think the youth need to really step up and ensure that, as long as perhaps considering a career in it, even if you don't and you
Mhm.
do integrate it in your everyday, how can you still be good when you come to the marketplace and be a competitor with other people?
Perfect. So I think this is such a great question. I think my message to the youth, just looking at where life is going with AI, I still feel like traditional education is still important. You should still get a degree, but maybe you need to be more strategic in terms of what type of degree it will be and how is technology integrated into that degree. And also just looking at what the jobs of the future look like, so you can strategically place yourself there. But if you are maybe really passionate about maybe law or whatever the case is, you need to see how does technology then integrate into this industry of mine, and what can I do over and above my degree to basically add that edge. And the only way to do that is through certifications and skill stacking. I feel like that's my biggest advice to the youth: skill stack and get the certifications that would add that edge and also integrate technology as a whole in depending on what industry you're in, so that when you are going out there to look for jobs, you're at least relevant for where the future is going.
Sorry, I lost my unmute button there for a minute. But
Yeah.
such helpful gems, I think, that you've said, and I hope that people use and utilize, but with us as the forefront, with us leading it. And so I also would like us to chat a little bit about some of your experiences and how you've taken shape and roles with AI in both your organization. So maybe you can tell us a little bit of a history, why you love the two that you like, and how you came to being with them, and how you've seen a drastic change in perhaps sales or efficiency with you and your team, and the AI tools that you've enjoyed in 2025.
Got you. So I think I'll just go back to the top two that I mentioned earlier. So with Jotform, it just made it easier for us because When when you're doing your onboarding process and you're doing it manually, it can be, you can find yourself falling by the wayside because you're busy and you're also trying to like onboard a new client, and you find that sometimes you even lose a new client because you took too long to respond. You didn't ask the correct questions to get all the information that you need on time in order for that client to be moved onto the next stage of or level of interest that they have about inquiring about your services. So I think for me, JotForm really helped in creating a more seamless and more efficient approach to the onboarding process because things were done a lot faster. The right questions were, of course, also asked and integrated, and also the information that we received on our site was placed and organized in a very good way so that by the time we have a final meeting with the client, all the centralized information is in one place. Before, manually, you find that a lot of aspects or elements are in email trails. You need to go over them, certain things like that, or you need to go look find for documents, etc., which can be a bit of a headache. So I think it really just sort of removed those little elements and nuances that can also potentially delay onboarding processes, and you can even lose clients, especially if you are in a phase where you are scaling and you do have a lot of clients and maybe you don't have the right time to do the onboarding stage manually because you are trying to service so many people, and some clients might just be lost because of that process. So that's how Jotform has realistically helped us. So it really has improved the onboarding process quite tremendously, and leaving no space for any delays. When it comes to Asante, the CRM tool, is really just helped us centralize our entire information or dashboard into one central thing, instead of utilizing different tools for different needs and roles. And then it's a headache when you need to now sort of consolidate to see in one central place what's actually happening. Are we actually growing? What does the pipeline look like? Our invoices sent, what is it looking like on a month-to-month basis? Okay, I see we've set up, our content calendar. I can see it on one space, etc. So I just really enjoyed how everything was sort of centralized instead of us logging into the different platforms and trying to find and try and create a overall report of what the different aspects of the company is looking like. So having that tool has really helped us centralize everything. And I know the biggest thing with the manual world is that there's a lack of centralizing. So AI really does help centralizing a lot of your data so you can see it in one place, and it also then helps you to understand your data and understand your place as a company. Are we doing well? Are we not doing well? Are we improving or we not? And where is the discrepancy? Where is the part or the gap that we're missing? So that has really helped our businesses tremendously in terms of that as well.
I think those are amazing tools. Particularly, you spoke about centralization. I think before AI, if we use the example of organization tools like a Monday.com or a
Yeah.
Trello, it's hard to move a Word doc to a Trello and then you have to send it to your clients and then you have to move it. Like, you're right. Everything should be in one, and as an organization and as an entrepreneur, I think that it does help in terms of just making sure, okay, this is where we are, this is who we've sent it to, this is who's responded, this is who we need to fetch and poke again. And so I like the AI tools that you've given. And please, if there's anyone in the chat or online who would like these, please let us know here at Bugawanile, and we'll be able to assist with those two top tools. I think also, as an entrepreneur, I'm sure you've had lots of ups and downs with everything. And so I would just like you to just say, how do you think we should go into 2026? Making very aware that, like, some people are going in fearful of AI, some people are going in where AI has really boosted their productivity and their businesses, and some people are going in where they don't know anything but they're willing to give it a try. As an entrepreneur, what is your parts on how we can all work together to make sure that we reach the audiences that we want in the industries we want with AI?
Awesome. So I think remain open, man. I think that would be the biggest thing I'd say. So remain open. Make sure that you do heavy market research on the tool that you want to use and also what your clients are actually looking for. because the last thing you want is to input various tools that are not really, assisting. It's just all bells and whistles, but not necessarily real solid, revenue increasing, tools that will help you improve your business for the better. But I think it's really just about keeping open to the failures that also might happen. You might get a tool and it just doesn't work as the way you anticipate it to work, and that's absolutely okay. There's no right or wrong when it comes to this AI thing. I think just technology as a whole. It's very trial and error, but the biggest thing is to remain open. Because if you don't remain open in a space like technology where it's so wide easily, so I think just remaining open and doing your research and matching it to what the customer need is. Oh, that one is so important. Just match it to what the customer needs. Don't just
Say
place
it
a tool
louder
because
for the people at the
you
back.
know, like because you heard, oh, two other people used it and it was amazing. But it's like great. It might be amazing for their business, but it might not be for
Mm.
yours. So do your research and make sure that you stay open.
I said, and I'll say it for you, like say it for the people at the back, matching
Yeah,
what your customer needs, because I
yeah,
think it's so critical. Sometimes what happens is, as you've just mentioned in your comment, we do see everyone go towards a trend, and now we all want to do the same thing, but it works for them. It might not
mm,
work for you. And
for
it's
you,
okay
yeah.
if it works for them, and it's okay if it doesn't work for you. Something will
Mhm.
work for you. So I think that is
Absolutely.
so important and critical. And I think even when you spoke in the beginning about big brands and banks using the AI bots and taking that type of service to AI, it works for them once again, but it might not work for you. You still need to interact. You still need to get onto that call or have that coffee or be in that meeting room, which is so critical in order to make sure that you close the deal and you get the SLA. Thank you so much for this conversation. I think it's been very, very, very enriching as we close off the year and as we ensure that we are aware and we're knowledgeable about what we can do with AI and where we can improve and what tools we can use, and making sure the tools that we use build relationships for the brands and our businesses, but also that we better our skills, never forgetting that it can
Yeah,
take your job, but it also needs you if you don't incorporate it. It is a helper.
100%.
Uh, any closing and parting shots that you would just like to say before we close off the webinar?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Minya. So I think for me, the biggest thing is staying open and doing your research. I feel like I've repeated that so much, but I think that is the first step. That's what I can leave you with. If you're thinking, especially for those that haven't used AI at all, if you're thinking of doing it, remain open and do your research about what your customers looking for, what they'd like. And if you're already on the AI train and it's working out for you, then start thinking about the relevant questions about the future growth of your company. Where do you want to see your company go? What do you want to possibly integrate to add a certain level of sleekness or more efficiency to your business model? And then, of course, how can you then slowly but surely also integrate even bigger AI models or even machine learning models, of course, because the more you grow, the more you're going to need that demand, right? So then start doing your research slowly to see what you can integrate bit by bit to get to that place. So I think more than anything, it's really about staying open, doing the research, and trial and error, man. You're not going to get it right the first time, second time, maybe the third or the fourth or fifth. But the whole point is to continue on this journey, and it's a learning journey for all of us, even the bigger corporations, although they might have more of the financial muscle to explore, they might not always get it right. So that's the biggest thing that I would give to the audience today.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much for this conversation. I think it's been so enriching, and I hope that everyone who has watched has really learned what type of trends and tools South Africans are really responding to, and where we can take those trends and tools and very important knowledge that Kopano has shared with us in order to catapult us and do better in 2026. Thank you, everyone, for watching another webinar, AI in 2025, what South African audience actually responded to. My name, once again, is Mwenya Chintambala. I work at Vugawanele, and I'm a PR and creative lead. If you want any information when it comes to Vugawanele, please visit our website, www.vugawanele.co.za. Until we meet again, thank you. Thank you, Kopano.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Cheers. Bye.
Wait, wait.